here's what I'd like to do. I'm going to finish up this idea of drum shells and hype in the industry with video on bass drums. I've got 3 bass drums here. Before I set up my leather set again, I've still got my garbage can bass drum. I've got my 22-inch from the leather set, and over here is a Pearl export. Now, just some specifics, all right? The drums are going to sound different, and a simple reason is they've got different heads on them. These two are close. This one not so much. This is an 11 by 22, and it goes along with my half shell concept, 4 by 8, 5 by 10, 6 by 12, 11 by 22, and I guess the 12 by 24 is in another room. So this is a 10-ply Keller maple, all right, 1/4 inch thick, thereabouts. This is my trash can drum that rattles because of the seams have a little bit of looseness to them where they crimp the metal. But it's 22, 18 on that side in the front. I reversed the spurs so I could turn it around and show you what it sounds like on the 22 side. So it's 22, 18, 26 inches deep. This is a Pearl export. I got this for a very specific purpose. I got an open box buy on eBay, got a good deal on it. I got it for a very specific reason. Pearl export, it looks like kind of a Luan shell, maybe some poplar, I'm not sure. Core, 5/16 of an inch thick, 18 by 22. Now as far as heads, Remo heads are here, and this is a single ply Remo. It's got a Pearl logo on it, but it's a Remo head. You got the Remo crown down there. So it's a Remo single ply with a muffling ring in it. The front is a coated single ply with a muffling ring in it, and it also has obviously a port. Here we have an Evans EQ4 and nothing else. And in the front is an Aquarian Force 10, which is floor tom head basically I threw on there. Now you might notice, let me see if I can, somewhere right about here, if I'm not mistaken, towards the edges, you're going to see a couple of colored strips which are they're like moon gel, but you can buy these things on eBay for nothing, and they come in all kinds of shapes and sizes. Kids put them on windows and whatnot. You know, it's that stretchy stuff. Sticks to the bass heads. There's 2 of them there, and they're shaped like pencils. That's what I got. I got a bag of pencils. Where is that bag? It's over there. So it's just pencil shapes. 2 on there. Here on the 11 by 22 is just an Evans, or no, it's an Attack double ply, and it's got what they call a tone ridge. It's like a crimped edge, about 1.5 inches all the way around. There's also a Gary Chafee bass drum muffler. This is a really cool device. I've got that on the batter head, and on the front is just an Evans Rezo head, single ply Rezo head with the drilled holes, you know, the port holes. But as you can see, it doesn't really matter because I have a 6-inch port in it, and it also has a tube in it, a port tube, a do-it-yourself port tube. They actually work though a little bit. Not that you're going to hear it again. This is what this comes down to. I'm going to strike every drum. You're going to hear they're going to sound different. They have slightly different heads, different materials, right? But if I put a screen in front of me and said, you choose the drum that you like best, I can guarantee you, of everybody that will watch this, there will be 3 different choices, right? First, maple. Trash can. Export. Do they sound different? Yes. Different heads, different materials. But if I had a screen in front of me again, and you were to listen to this, now I told you, as I've mentioned before, all right, 9 by 18, 8 by 16. These are my floor toms on snare drum stands. I like the action, the faster action of the sound waves in the air column moving between the heads. I just like the feel better, I like the sound better. Same thing for bass drums. I like this better. Sustain is not an issue. We talked about sustain in the last issue. Sustain is not really an issue unless you're, I forget his name, Keith, oh dear, anyway, I forget his name. You know what I'm talking about. He likes a totally open bass drum if he can get away with it in the bands he plays in. Because a lot of people like a muffled, muted sound that has more definition and articulation to it. I like something a little in between. Okay, I'm getting a little bit of both. But of these three drums, that is a cool sound. I really like that sound. I do like this. It's loud, a lot of action between single ply heads, or a double ply with no tone ring on it, and a single ply out there, just more action. I'm losing some air out the port, obviously. Here, there's no port, and they all have felt beaters, by the way. That's what I'm using on the pedals. I think that's a cool sound. It's not a drum, but it is a drum. Why? Because it is a cylinder with a couple of membranes tensioned on it. It's a drum because the sound of a drum is the heads, not the shell. You can hear the thing rattling. All right, the export. Now the export has two single ply heads, but it's got the muffling rings on the inside. So it dries up the sound. You get more of the articulation, right? It's a good sound. Look, this drum. I think that this is a Pearl export drum, right? And it's got that smoky chrome wrap on it. I think it's pretty cool. I think it's kind of attractive, right? I think the bass drum hoop claws are nice. The lugs are nice. Good bass drum spurs. They even give you a hoop protector for your pedal down there, and on the inside there's a Velcro strip if you want to put some kind of pillow or something on there that'll be grabbed by the Velcro and stay put. Put it up against the head. Otherwise, I've got no muffling inside these drums. Sound like muffled bass drums anyway, and you can get what you want if you change the heads. If I take these heads and put them on this drum, I'm going to get a much drier sound because of those muffling rings on the heads. All right? I'll show you what this sounds like without the Gary Chaffee drum muffler contraption here. All right, so you can hear more boom. Now that port out there is an interesting concept. I made my own. It's a 6-inch just port tube. It's a subwoofer port tube, right? And I just have it in place with some goop or something. Goop or silicone, I forget. And I just cut the hole, put it in place, let it dry, done. Comes in about 6 inches as well. 6 inches around, 6 inches into the shell. And I can hear this. But here's the point. Just like sustain, who's going to hear that when you're playing an entire drum set? Who's going to hear that? Who's going to hear 3 or 4 seconds of this? 5 seconds on this one? Who's going to hear that with a band playing around you? Nobody's going to hear sustain. Sustain enables a drum to sound a little more lively upon impact, but the only thing that you hear is the impact of that stick tip and the velocity you throw it down with and where you hit the head. That's what you're going to hear in whatever a microphone picks up, live or studio. That's what you hear. So the idea of sustain is almost a misnomer. I love sustain. I try to create bearing edges that allow my heads to sit as beautifully as possible, as correctly as possible, to give me as much sustain as possible. But I know I'm a realist, and in a real world situation, nobody hears that. I don't even hear it sitting behind the drums. I could be playing a solo just by myself. I don't hear that sustain. There's so much stuff going on. So sustain is, you know what I mean? It's a subject that can get pumped up a lot. If you have a tom that, like I said in the other video, can sustain for 10 seconds, so what? Who's going to hear it? You won't. You're playing the rest of your drums. The band's playing. You don't hear that. But all right, now here, though, you can call it 3 different flavors of drums, all right? Maple, call it metal. I don't know what you call it. It's a millimeter thick, so it's, you know. Now, some guys would like that really dry sound. Listen, I'm telling you, okay, I make my own drums, yes. But if somebody gave me I told you this in the last video, or maybe I didn't. It was in one of the other. The reason that Pearl exports are the largest selling drums in the world is because every generation of these things, they keep raising it a notch. If you give me a Pearl export set and put me behind it, I'm going to play with as much passion as I'll play on these maple drums. I'm a musician that will just, music creates passion. And I will play the same stuff on this drum set on a Pearl export as I would on my maple set. Some guys will like the dryness of this head combination. And that's fine. It's a little bit dry for my taste. I bought it for another whole application. All right, and I have it. It's punchy. You know, it's got that punch. It's got a chunky kind of sound to it. But nothing. It sounds as good as this to me. It sounds a little different because the heads are different. Pearl export is fine. What's a fine drum? Change the heads, change the sound of the drum. And here I am looking at a trash can for a bass drum. And it sounds really cool. And you'll recognize if you watch my bass drum pedal video, I play that pattern a lot when I'm testing stuff out. So here's your 3 bass drums. Different materials, yes. Different tonal characteristics, yes. But the tonal characteristics are thrown off by the heads and reflected inside the cylinder based on the density of the cylinder itself. All right? I think this is a cool sound. I don't like the rattle. I don't like the rattling going on. And look, there's nothing about this too. I didn't know how much I could tighten these. You'll see I just have wood blocks here. I mentioned this in the other video. Just wood blocks and some star nuts. And the tension rod passes through a hole, catches on the star nut, grabs the wood, tightens the drum. But this is like a millimeter thick. I didn't know how much tension I could put on these heads. You know what I mean? So I got the best I could. What am I going to take this thing out on tours? Well, of course not. Of course not. I would never do that. But if I played this drum all night long and had a screen in front of it, and you didn't see it was a trash can, you wouldn't know. How would you? You wouldn't know. You couldn't know. You wouldn't know this is maple, and you wouldn't know this is whatever this brand, this particular model export is made of. If I take out those muffler rings from those, just put single ply heads on there, this drum is going to be just as loud and boomy as this one. I toned it down with the drum muffler here and the little, can you see that there? You see this? See, this one's purple. I don't know if you can really see it on the head or not. See it flopping around here. Okay, it's that stretchy stuff kids put on windows and stuff. Well, that's what's on the head. All right, I have 3 of them on this head to tone that one down a little bit, just for the video. Normally I don't. Because a wide open bass drum, by the time it moves 10 feet, the boom is, nobody hears the boom. You got a microphone there, and you can EQ, and you can do all kinds of stuff. The room has a lot to do with it as well. So ultimately, look, even if I had the money, am I going to spend the money on top of the line bass drums that I can go out and buy a bloody car with? No. Come on. Now, if you want to do it, like I said, better finished, hardware, it's your money, spend it however you want. But just don't think this is a do-it-yourself maple. This is a trash can. This is a Pearl export. I play any of them on a recording, live. I wouldn't trust this, taking it around. I play any of them. Because what you put into music comes from here, not so much from there. You can be inspired. I'm not saying you can't be inspired by drums. But if you go out and spend a boatload of money on a drum set because of all the hype that they tell you about drum shells, you're not going to get a better sound. So I tried to show in all these videos the various aspects of drum shells, bearing edges, head choices, and all that stuff, and how this all works together. To me, this is a no-brainer. Okay? The sound of a drum is 99% the heads. Change the heads, change the sound of the drum. If the shell density holds in the sound waves a little longer and creates some tonal coloration, subtleties, nuances to the sound, once you play a whole drum set and once you're surrounded by a band, no, it's gone. It's gone. Put a screen in front of a Pearl export set and I will play a concert and put a screen in front of it and you never know I was playing Pearl exports. You wouldn't know. And like I said, the Pearl exports, I'm not a Pearl endorser or anything, but every time I see a Pearl drum set, a Pearl export, they even give you isolation mounts for the toms now. I mean, you know, this is they just keep raising the bar for Pearl exports, and that's why they sell so much. But, like I said, 3 different sounds, change the heads, change the sound, the character of the drum, and try that. Before you go out and spend a lot of money, whatever drum set you have, change the heads. Spend money on heads and see what you get. See if you like that better. Before you, don't buy into the hype. I reject it. I absolutely, positively reject the hype in the drum manufacturing industry about drum shells. I reject it. Flat out reject it. Call me a heretic. That's fine. I'm sitting here with 3 bass drums. I play any of them. There you go. Thanks for watching.